someone's face, it would be mine for just laughing hysterically. But this is not a laughing issue, nor is it a time to laugh. You know, when you see and hear what's going on in the media, whether it's on the college campus at Columbia, Yale, or maybe even what teachers teach at McGill University. Guys, this sounds like 1933 all over again. Welcome, everybody, to the Rant Network. This is a podcast. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Stuart Brisgel. That's the other host, David Solomon, where we peel back layers on a multitude of topics without holding up a thing. Here we're about unfiltered, raw dialogue that serves as an outlet to voice opinions, exchange ideas, share experiences from every corner of life. Dive into the hearts of current events, pulp culture, politics, and quirks of existence. Whether you're venting over life's daily frustration or tackling bigger questions that shape the world, there's a place for it under the Rant Network umbrella. Get comfortable, whether you give us your ears, your eyes, whether you're live, or whether you're catching us on a recorded live. David, you know, when we heard Congress ask the question, the president of Yale University, and she answered
Columbia.
Sorry, wrong university. Well, they did ask Yale, but she's no longer employed. But Columbia University, and she was asked yes or no, and actually answered the question with yes or no. But you know what? It seems that contempt of Congress sort of ends with just an answer, like lip service, or like Milli Vanilli, the lip sync band from the 80s. Because she answered a question, but now she does something completely different on campus. David, I am seeing this in emails in Florida by owners of a health beauty brand by the name of LaPo. I'm hearing it on Fox News. I'm hearing it on the streets. David, what do you got to say?
You know, Stuart, let's talk about what's going on campuses right now around the Western world. And they are essentially a shit show. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the most frightening eras I could possibly have imagined in my life. And I lived through the Cold War with the threat of nuclear attack from the Soviet Union. Okay. You know, we've gone through a lot of stuff, but I never felt in my life this, I won't say uncomfortable, but this threatened. Now, let me tell you something, Stuart. If you're a university student today in most American and Canadian universities, and you dare to support the state of Israel in any way, shape, or form, you're threatened. You've been yelled at, verbally assaulted, and in some cases, physically assaulted, or even worse, viciously harmed, as a Jewish Yale student was stabbed in the eye with a Palestinian flag by one of the protesters. All of a sudden now, these protesters have decided who is allowed on campus, who is safe on campus. They blocked an Orthodox student from going on Yale's campus. Okay? Who in the hell are these people? But what's the problem, Stuart, is that this is an absolute example of leadership gone bad at the university level, where they allowed anything to be said in the classroom. Now, Stuart, offline, you asked me a few questions, so let me bring that up. I teach part-time at McGill University. If I had to tell you what I had to sign and do kind of training and all that kind of stuff to be a professor, which included DEI, which included sensitivity training, which include, all kinds of other things to be sensitive towards the students. But when it comes to being a Jew or supporter of the state of Israel, doesn't count. Doesn't count. Worse is if I were to stand up today with this disc saying bring them home, or I would bring a flag or something into a classroom, I'd be yelled at and screamed that you can't bring politics and religion into a classroom. But those who are Muslim and Arab who spew hate in universities like Yale, Columbia, Cornell, Harvard, They're lauded. They're allowed. They are promoted. How interesting. Stuart, today, over late last week, Columbia University has had over 100 students singing and chanting civil rights songs to support their cause. And this morning on Fox News, one of the anchors there, a gentleman, an African American fellow, I can't remember his name, I apologize. He said, I don't get it. The first group of people that accepted blacks were Jews. And then you flip and you take the civil rights songs and you toss it back in their face. It is vile and completely unbelievable.
You know, David, let's take a twist into Canadian history, where in Canada, these signs were posted. This is 1930
Yep.
Canada,
Yeah.
okay?
You know,
Where the neo Nazis were going around in Canada, okay? You know, this is nothing new, nothing new, okay?
no, it's not. For sure not.
And you know, when people wanted solidarity for Black Americans, the Jews walked with, not against. Okay? This is what you call pure and unadulterated, unprotected First Amendment. Because it's not freedom of speech, it's hate. Hate speech is not protected under the First Amendment. And the universities are culpable, responsible, and ultimately will financially be paying a price, just not soon enough. They're allowing too much twine come out of the reel before it gets pulled back. Now, Mayor Adams has finally hit the button and said, enough's enough. Police go in.
Oh, hey,
And
Yale had to call in riot officers. Imagine they have to call riot officers to regain control because of what's going on campus. This is what you've created, people.
you know, and you're right. You said earlier before we went live, we talked about the Biden administration being virtually silent. You know what? I would love to hear someone from the administration say death to America is an automatic removal of Congress. That you cannot sit in Congress if you're chanting death to America or condoning death to America. The divisiveness that these people are allowed to take based off of the First Amendment rights should be disbarred because they're lawyers. They know better.
You know what, Stuart? It's crazy because, and it's not just here. You know, a London cop threatened a man who was Jewish for appearing at a pro Hamas rally. Why? They can come to anything that we're doing, they can cause havoc. One gentleman shows up and he's threatened by a cop, and it's caught on video, by the way, it's gone viral. All right, you see this double standard everywhere. You see what's happening. You know, I'm sorry, but when you're letting the Democratic Party, and you know, I know we have friends here who are Democratic Party, love the Democratic Party. Your party is the one, folks, who's helped to create this divisiveness. Because when you let an Elon Omar on a committee and her daughter goes to jail, arrested for what she's done, and then complains and cries about the punishment related to it. I mean, what is, guys?
Well, Canadian history's got the FLQ bombers that were members of parliament that were stemmed from crazy 1960, 70, rioting and insanity. And it was forgiven. But the difference between them and Elon Omar is we're a lot supposed to be more sophisticated and smarter today
No, we're
and a
not.
little more educated today.
Stuart, no. Elon Omar and Rashida Tlaib love when their constituents yell "Death to America." They brought their Middle East hate to America. They continue to promote it and push it because when they don't get, and I said this last week in Iran, if they don't get 110% of what they want, they break down, they melt down, and they create these havoc. Stuart, I heard something was very interesting. Somebody they were accused of, these are not real protesters; they're paid protesters. They're people who are paid to create the havoc. You know what? If that's what was true, then get rid of them. These professional protesters, but they're not, and there are a lot of them are students. And if you look today, right now, people between the ages of 18 to 35 don't view anti-Semitism as racism. That is vile. And where did they learn all that? It's in the universities, it's on social media, it's in traditional media, and it's thanks to politicians who've decided to normalize hate to Jews. Your universities, when you have that, either it's in California, Connecticut,
I've got a solution to this problem that the American government or even the Canadian government could really sweepingly resolve this. Cut all federal funding.
Oh no, but then they'll lose.
Which
No,
includes,
no, Stuart, but your president,
you're
that,
prime minister.
no, hold on. Your president that that the United States elected in 2020 thought it would be best to cut student loan payments to very rich people and not solve the problem on campus. They're going to complain and contend that it's not their problem. It took how many months for the White House over the weekend to put out a press release? I mean, where is the president of the United States to call? I would challenge your president. My prime minister is lost. He's an anti-Semite. We know that already. We could care less about Justin Trudeau. But your president says he supports Bibi Netanyahu in Israel, and he supports the Jews of the United States. So I challenge him to call a 9 o'clock Eastern televised conference where he condemns universities, and he's going to demand from Congress legislation that any university that promotes racism lose their funding or be shut down. Let me see him do that. God forbid he'll do that.
It's not going to happen. I think it's going to take some smart attorneys under Title IX to sue the universities and claw back all the Title VII, Title IX money, which, by the way, has already begun in the process. The lawsuits that have been levied against these 5 Ivy League schools by different law firms and different students all ramp up to them going, if you don't pay me, we're going to go after your Title VII, Title IX funding, if I've got the right titles back for the federal funding, because any violation to that would immediately remove, in which case the government could claw back the millions and billions of dollars, which, you want to know something? That may serve Harvard, Yale, Columbia, amongst many other universities well. Firing the president of the university doesn't wipe out the hate. Firing the president of the university doesn't resolve the problem. It will take the fortitude of a very, very strong body to clean up this mess. And if we didn't learn this during the Vietnam War, this is going to get flippin' ugly.
Well, let me take one step further, and you're 100% right, and I applaud that statement.
Say it again. I want to hear that. I'm 100% right? Wow, David, it is definitely a Monday morning.
Watch the recording. So the thing is that the universities, you're right about the presidents, with no intestinal fortitude, they can't do anything. But the problem is that a professor gets fired. Look, listen, I'm gonna just end it with this, Stuart, because we're gonna go on and on. But I'll show you where the mindset of universities are. A university in Massachusetts fired its hockey coach. She was fired because she made a comment in the dressing room that there are too many Chiefs and not enough Indians. And there was an Indigenous player on the team, and she got fired right away from making the statement because the student said she didn't feel comfortable. 4,700 Columbia students are saying we don't feel comfortable, and not one person is being fired. Voila.
Rules for me, not for thee, David. And that's a wrap for today's episode. A huge thanks for lending us your ears, your eyes, and spending some valuable time with the Rant Network. It has been a real pleasure sharing our thoughts with you and discussions with you. Share your support back with us means the world to us. We're welcoming you back for another engaging, insightful discussion. Remember, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. Stay connected with us on the social media channels. Don't hesitate for sending us your thoughts, questions, hate mail. We can take it because you're passionate about it. Your input is invaluable as we continue to build this community of curious minds and very, very open conversations. Thank you once more. Until next time we rendezvous. David, what do you got to say on the out?
Wishing all of our Jewish listeners and viewers Chag Sameach, have a good Seder, and may the hostages come home soon.